rehearsing and nursing a part. We know every part by heart. Overture, curtain lights, this is it. We'll hit the heights, and oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show, this is it.
Hey, we're back. I'm Goose.
I'm Logan.
This is On With The Show, and we've got some interesting new updates on one of our favorite topics.
Yep.
Splash Mountain. So, a couple of things are going on. First of all, let me bring this up because I need to be able to talk about this. Apparently, there's been something going on as far as we didn't think they would actually close Splash Mountain. We thought for sure.
We were for sure that this was going to be some ploy to gauge how popular the ride was. You know?
Yeah, but apparently they've decided, we're going to retheme Splash Mountain to Tiana'S Bayou Adventure.
And they're going far into the Tiana'S theming. Now they got the, what is it, Tiana'S Foods or something signs around Disney.
Apparently, but there's caused a lot of controversy with this, especially over at the Magic Kingdom, because it's a lot of signage around that apparently pointed to a very controversial retheming. It's become a rather controversial retheming. Apparently, from what it is being said, they are using the idea, in fact, they're even calling it the Avery Salt Mines from Louisiana, and apparently the Avery Salt Mines has a long history of slavery.
Interesting. So they're going to retheme the ride because it was based on a movie that supposedly glorified slavery to turn it into a ride based on slavery.
Yeah.
Am I getting that right?
Yeah. And there are a lot of people who are like, oh no, this is different. Let me give you from what has been going on. The history of the Avery Island salt mine, which is basically what it is, dates back to when it was basically being slaves basically worked in there, actual slaves. It was basically used for back in the Civil War, or in the Civil War, where the Confederacy owned it, and they used it to help season their food. Matter of fact, that's where we get Tabasco, of all things, and so and it was in operation up until just about 2 or 3 years ago.
Really?
Yeah, until the roof caved in, killed 2 people.
Huh.
So this actual salt mine actually used slaves for labor, and there's a long history of it too. They're basically saying that we're going to be going through a cartoonized and gentrified version of slave salt mines that Tiana now supposedly owns, because she is not only owns a restaurant, she's taking on Tabasco with her vast real estate holdings. So she owns the salt mine.
Interesting.
Oh my God! I mean,
what article is this?
This is from thatparkplace.com. Tiana'S Bayou Adventure offends on day one. Direct reference to historic slaves. I mean, I mean, and apparently no one at the park is saying boo about it. This is all coming out from people who want to save Splash Mountain, who are like, this is really bad.
This is it's an odd choice to retheme.
And here's the interesting thing: is like the people who are retheming it are basically saying that they went to Louisiana and they wanted to use actual Louisiana history for this retheme, and they were all excited.
Chose that
and
part of Louisiana history?
Yeah.
Not anything to do with New Orleans jazz. No, we went to slave salt mines.
Yep.
That's the history we want to celebrate.
That's the history we want to celebrate. The story they want to be able to say, and this is, and again, I don't know where they came up with this idea. I would have thought this was really bad from the beginning. But the idea is that Tiana now owns the mine, and she goes down there to get her special seasonings that she now puts in her restaurant. Which, by the way, the French Market restaurant in Disneyland is now going to be Tiana's Palace.
Which is a change I can get behind.
I can get behind that.
Because we actually ate at the French Market, and I think that would absolutely fit perfectly.
Yeah, I think so
Only
too.
thing I want them to change, please, dear God, fix the lighting.
Oh yeah,
We had to use flashlights to see our food.
But apparently, I mean, the storyline for Tiana's Bayou is based around the Avery Island slavery-driven salt mine. Yeah, but she now owns the mine where she now gets her new flavors and her new stuff. Which, honest to God, I mean, this puts in a really bad perspective because.
So does Tiana now own slaves?
That's exactly what I was thinking. Does Tiana now own slaves?
I'm confused.
And let me tell you something. We didn't get this information from Wikipedia. We got this. We're getting this from other sites. And basically, you go through the history of the salt mine and find out many hundreds of men were at work, and at times as many as 500 wagons loaded with the product left the island in a day. Some of these ox-drawn wagons made long trips into Texas northward, while ideal salt was hauled to the I can't even pronounce that river. Thence shipped to Vicksburg by boat and distributed by rail.
Even if it's not Tiana, like owning slaves herself, it's still weird to decide to theme it around a place that was run or used slaves.
Union General Banks drove the Confederates out and destroyed the salt works. A brigade was sent down for that purpose, but after they left, repairs were instituted and the work went on. Apparently this is the Marsh House slave quarters. The Marsh House slave quarters site includes 2 small standing rock cabins structures. They actually had slave quarters there. How did you miss this? How could you have missed this? This is appalling. I mean, you destroyed a ride because you said it was based on slavery, only to build a ride based on slavery, actual slavery. This is ridiculous.
So I guess what they gotta do now is either I can't. With all this coming out, I can't see them continuing with the storyline. They gotta completely rework it, or else it's just gonna lead to further controversy. Even more than Splash Mountain was already controversial, even though it was only controversial for a tiny, tiny minority. Yeah. Once this gets out, it's gonna be like a giant mess.
Yeah, it was. By 1940, the plantation was known as Marsh Avery Plantation, and by the time of the Civil War, was known as just Avery Plantation. The 1860 slave schedule lists 100 enslaved persons living on Avery Island during that year. The plantation continued after the war as Avery Plantation until 1908. For some reason, I'm gone dyslexic today. And when it became the Avery Planting and Improvement Company. So, I'm sorry. I don't understand. I mean, was it your understanding, the idea that you could just slip this by everybody and say, well, because Tiana now has the ride, it's okay? It just basically just upsets me. It just upsets me. We've gone from zippity doodah and African folklore to Brer creatures in Georgia to a straight up story about Louisiana plantations and salt mines harvested by real slaves from real history. It's a heck of an improvement. And again, will be cartoonized and Disney-fied. It's a happy salt mine after all.
Which is ironic because they said that's the reason Song of the South was so criticized, because it supposedly had happy slaves, and now here we are getting
Yeah.
Happy slaves.
Happy slaves. Oh. Anyway, I don't know how they could, and and basically they said that because they've gone so far into the retheme that they're just going to they're just going to continue it.
I can't believe, and this is in the middle of all their, we're losing money out our ass every single day, and here we're going to go with the worst retheme
Of history.
in history, which is going to lead to, guess what? Losing more money.
You're losing more money, yeah.
And then it's going to be Disney releases 7,000 more employees because the Splash Mountain retheme has gone disastrously.
Overture, curtain lights, this is it, the night of nights. No more rehearsing and nursing apart. We know every card by heart. Overture, curtain lights, this is it. We'll hit the heights, and oh, what heights we'll hit. On with the show, this is it.